Hey, this is Molly Patrick, and you're listening to the Clean Food Dirty Girl podcast. We are all about helping people eat more plants and celebrating imperfection as we navigate life's messiness. Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Clean Food Dirty Girl podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today I am talking with Heather, who is in our dirty community. And Heather, I saw you post in the private Facebook group last week about lowering your cholesterol. And your cholesterol was high. Your doctor was like, ooh, we need to do something about this. And you're like, all right, let me give diet a chance and we'll get back to you. This is a very short version of the story, but you did manage to bring it down quite a lot. And so that's what I know. And at that point, I was like, hey, come on the podcast, because I love talking with people who are able to do these types of things with diet. And we see it happen. We see people doing it. And I think for the people who are new to this, or maybe who have just heard of plant-based eating or just heard of Clean Food Dirty Girl, these stories give people a lot of hope and something to really look forward to. So thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to getting to know you.
Great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself first. Like, for example, as much as you want to share. Just start us off there.
Sure. I like to say I have 3 kids, 2 dogs, and 1 husband. So very busy mom, wife, and working mother, I should say. I also have a full-time job. So I actually work for a wholesale food distribution company. So I spend a lot of time around food, all different types of food. And really between, all of that, it's hard sometimes to find time for myself. And so the last year, I really just decided that, it's time. I have to start prioritizing myself. I am turning 50 this year. And so really I feel like when things start to, what you eat and, how you take care of yourself really starts to become even more important.
Yeah. Well, you look fabulous, first of all.
Thank you.
Yes, you really do. And you're right. I mean, I think that I hear that so often, and it's like, there's this, we tend to just go. And we reach a point, I think, in our lives where it's like, okay, if I don't do this now, then when am I going to do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I think like late 40s, early 50s is like what I see quite often. People are like, okay, I've put it off for a while. And like you, I mean, a lot of women are so busy and they have kids and they have jobs and they have these very full lives and they have families. And it's so easy to put ourselves on the back burner and to do all the things for all the people. So, what did that look like for you? So when you decided, okay, I need to put myself first, what changed in your life?
It really started about a year ago, and I had, get regular physicals, and, for the last 10 years or more, actually most of my life, I've had high cholesterol, and there was a belief and a thought in our family that it was hereditary. So it's like, it doesn't matter what you do, you'll never get it under control. You're going to end up on medication anyway. And I had previously, been a vegetarian for many years. In my 20s, I was a vegan about 6 or 7 years ago, but I would say a little bit more of like a junk food vegan, not plant-based whole food. So I really didn't know a lot about that then. And so at one of my physicals, the doctor, she was like, you're getting to that age where we have to start talking about medication. And I'm not against it. I just wanted to know that, I really needed it, that I was a part of a very small percentage of the population that really couldn't do anything about it. Because I know that exists, but I needed to check out for myself. Is that me or not? So I really just, in the past, I had some lingering COVID weight. In the past, my goals were like to lose weight and get healthy, but they really weren't taking me down to like the deeper reason and the deeper motivation, which I've learned from listening to you and in some of your groups and communities, really why show up for myself. And so it started off as I'm going to, tell me I can't do something. And that's the biggest challenge for me to do it. Right. You're probably going to end up on medication, et cetera. And it's like, okay, I accept the challenge. And then it really became this, wait a minute, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my grandkids someday. I'm doing this for my own children who are getting older. And, I want to feel good and stay active as I age. And it really just started to kind of fall into place. And I knew I wanted to start with focusing on, well, first it was rest, getting 8 hours of sleep every night. And then it was eating. And I knew that it was going to take time, and I had to be patient with myself, and I had to be kind to myself, which, when I say it to my friends and people in my community, I feel sometimes a little cheesy saying that, but it's like, really, it's the truth. I would beat myself up because I wasn't doing something perfectly, or kind of the saboteurs in my mind were like, you might as well give up because you screwed up today already. And, I would go back to, no, I just made a mistake. I'll be better tomorrow. There's no such thing as perfect. And it just kind of, everything started to fall into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's so good. So much to unpack there. And I mean, you're familiar with Clean Food Dirty Girl, you're familiar with me. And so it's like, that's a big thing, right? Like the striving for perfection can really get us in trouble. And it's funny that you said that, like, that it can be cheesy. Like, what was it, like the kind of being kind to yourself and compassionate to yourself felt cheesy in the beginning?
Yeah, to me, it's again, like, just mentally where I was at, but I felt like I just felt like talking about it, just openly, like, be kind to yourself. It just felt, I don't know, like, I felt very vulnerable saying that. And I think I tend to, try to come across, a little bit more like put together and,
Cool.
like I have it all figured out or whatever, which I know that I don't. And I don't know why, sometimes I feel like I have to present myself that way.
I understand. I mean, I'm the same way. It's like, I want to be cool. I want to be right. I want people to like me. I want to have it all figured out, and in reality, like, I don't. Nobody does.
Right? Nobody does.
We're all just doing the best we can. And I think, it's interesting is that, like, you talked about wanting to, like, going on this healthy journey, losing the weight, seeing if you really can get your cholesterol down. Or because there are some people who really do have a genetic predisposition to higher cholesterol, and a very small, from what I understand, a very small percentage of the people who do go on a whole food plant-based diet still have trouble getting it down low enough. It's not common, but you wanted to see, hey, is this me, or can I actually do this? So there was a bit of a, like, okay, it's on type of thing. And I think I would feel the same way as you, like, okay, well, let's just see what I can do, because if the alternative is medication, why not? Like, what is the risk in trying? Because really, there's not going to be any side effects from trying this.
Right. Yeah.
But I really liked what you hit on, and you really found your deeper reasons why you wanted to do this. And it wasn't necessarily about, like, the weight or how you should look or what you think you should look like or whatever. You didn't say that, but I'm kind of paraphrasing. But when you kind of peel back the layers, it was like being really healthy for your kids and for your future grandkids and your family. And I think that it's so important to peel back those layers. Like, why is it important to you to do that? Because when you do find that really core of you, like, because all of the other stuff, it might seem a little bit superficial, and those aren't bad reasons. But when you go deeper and deeper, it's like when you can connect to that, it's easier to do. Is that what I think? I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Some of the exercises through one of your programs was, I feel like, was like visualizing and thinking about, what that future looks like. What does it feel like? And so, it just, like, takes over. And I'm not saying that it wasn't, like, hard some days, because, lack of, what's that phrase? Lack of, not having a plan makes everything more difficult. Right. So, you have to plan ahead. So on the days where, I didn't have a meal ready, or I didn't know what I was going to have for dinner that night, it certainly would have been very easy to turn to something that, I knew I would regret later. And I would stand there for a minute and think about like, how am I going to feel if I eat that? And, I'm like, well, it'll probably feel really good in the moment. And later I'll beat myself up or feel very, awful. And so it just gives you this motivation, like deep inside to keep going while still, being forgiving of yourself when you do make mistakes. Cause I don't want to say, it's perfect because it's not, but
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
because it never will be. And for me either. Right. Like I've been doing this for a long time and I've been doing it imperfectly for like always. And so it's really true. And I think you hit on something really important. It's like, and I think that maybe the phrase that you were thinking of is like, you fail to plan, you plan to fail type of thing.
Yes.
And it's so true because when you eat this way, like you have to cook. You have to, even if it's like, it doesn't have to be super complicated, but there is a certain amount of cooking that is involved and and planning that is involved because you can't just, the way, and I'm sure that you've heard me say this, but it's like when you eat a whole food plant-based diet and you're not relying on like vegan junk food or vegetarian, like frozen pizza or whatever, you really do have to make your own convenience foods.
Yeah.
And when you batch cook and when you plan in advance, you're really optimizing your time. And I think of it as like a time management tool, actually, to look at the week ahead. Hey, what am I going to have? Making sure that you have the stuff for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Making sure you set aside some time on the weekends to batch cook. It's like such a great way to optimize your time so that you flow through your weeks and you never have to be like, oh, I'm really hungry. I have nothing. Because the drive to eat can override the drive to like eat healthy, right? And so if it's eating something not as healthy or not eating at all, we're gonna eat the stuff that isn't as healthy. So I think that prepping and planning is super important. But like I said, even if it's not super complicated, I mean, I just had for lunch, I had a really busy weekend this weekend and I didn't have that much time to batch. And so I have like one soup and I was like, I want to have that for dinner. So I put some potatoes in the Instant Pot, went into our Clean Food Dirty Girl portal, made a really quick gravy, and then massaged a bunch of kale and like put that in a bowl. And really, I mean, it took me 15 minutes. So even if it's not complicated, it's doable. So when you came into this, when you were like, okay, I'm going to see what I can do with diet to try to knock it on medication. At that point, you were like vegetarian, kind of junk food, vegan. Was that where you were at with your food?
Yeah, actually at that time, like coming in about a year ago, I actually was eating meat and dairy. And so my family is, meat and dairy eaters. And I was just eating it not because I liked it, but because it was convenient because you make dinner and lunches and you grocery shop, and I wasn't taking time for myself because it felt so complicated. Like, how do I plan for myself and everyone else? It kind of grosses me out now, like to say it, because I've never liked meat. And after reading a book about cheese, I am really grossed out by that too. But yeah, that's what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, what book was it, by the way? Because I know people will want to know what book
it was. The Cheese Trap
by Dr. Neil Barnard, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a great book. And when you do really start learning about cheese and not only the health effects that it has, but also the way that it's produced, and like, it's just stuff that it's hard to go. It's hard to like be open to eating it when you know that there's just a lot of bad that goes along with it and a lot of hurt that goes along with it. So how did you do it then? Because this is something that I hear all the time. Like, look, I want to eat this way. I have no problem with this. Like, I'm on board, but my family is just not. And, because like you said, it becomes complicated. Like, so how did you balance that out? What was your game plan for you to eat this way and to have your family not eat this way?
Yeah. So I first, I kind of just kept things status quo with my family. They still eat meat and I actually still help prepare food for them, which is an interesting like dynamic, by buying a bunch of books. And one of them, How Not to Die, and buying, the accompanying cookbook, and just starting to learn about, okay, how do I eat healthy? Like, I know how to be a vegetarian and a vegan, but this is, when I say vegan, I tend to think like junk food because Oreos are vegan, right?
Yeah.
And, it doesn't mean you should necessarily eat them. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but it just depends on what your individual journey is. And so I started there, and then I started listening to other podcasts, and you were a guest on one of those. And right about that time, I'm not exactly sure if that was, June or July of last year, but whenever that was, I was so intrigued by, what you were offering that I immediately, went to your website and started learning and looking. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I needed, because I couldn't like figure out time management. I couldn't figure out how to like come up with all these recipes and like what to eat for the week. And, there's a lot of work that goes into figuring out, am I making 1 serving or 2 servings? I know it doesn't sound complicated. You just double the recipe, but it's not exactly that easy when you're, working with all these different quantities of ingredients and when you're busy.
Yeah.
And so I loved that I could figure out, if it's just me, how many servings am I going to do? And I, started doing, the batching and using the weekly meal plans. And it was really funny at first, like how destroyed my kitchen was and the mistakes I would make. And it's like, oh no, I forgot to add the flaxseed. But over time I've gotten really good. And I love it. And when you were saying earlier, just sometimes, if I miss a week of batching, I pull up a recipe. The other day I made one of the potato soups. It's very easy, accompanying it with a salad. Like it just, it's not hard. It's not hard because those resources are there.
That's wonderful. That makes my heart so happy. And I know when my team too, because we have a small team and we really make a lot of magic with our Clean Food Dirty Girl portal. And that's why we do it, because we want to make it easier for people. Right. And so I'm so happy that gave you some direction and some making this less intimidating than it is otherwise. Because I think you're right. I mean, that's a small, if you're thinking, well, I want to make 1 portion or two servings or 1 serving, it doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're doing not a lot, it's so much easier just to put it in and have everything else figured out, because it's like, even if it'll save that little bit of like mental space, I think.
Yeah.
So
like mental fatigue, like it gets mentally exhausting, because if you're working and your kids are busy and your spouse is busy, it's like you're making decisions all day long. And it's like, oh, I'm so tired. I can't, I don't want to figure this out right now. And so it's so easy. I just have to tell you, I love it. And I love the way it's set up. I love the batching and the grocery list, like being able to check stuff off. And I don't even write it on paper. Just take my list to the store with my other, list. It's amazing how convenient it is. And everything tastes great when I don't screw it up.
Everything tastes really good. Yes. I totally agree. We have the best recipes out there. I know I'm biased, but like, I do believe that.
You do. You have the best.
Yeah. So how then? So you did this for yourself. And so you're batching for yourself, and then you're making food for your family. So is that like, does that feel like a lot of extra work? Or, I mean, how does it look like on like any given Wednesday at your house?
Yeah. So, I don't make dinner for the rest of the family like every day. Try to make a little more. So they have leftovers. My husband's a great cook. And so he will cook. My kids are starting to like, preparing and cooking. It's funny. I'll cook some things and they'll say, "God, it smells so good. What is that?" And my son the other day I was doing some like soy curls for like fajitas, and he's like, "Edie, this is so good." He's like, "Is this chicken?" And I'm like, "No, it's actually soy curls." He's like, "Oh my God, this is so good." He's 16 and he's, playing football and trying to get all bulk up or whatever.
It's like every 16-year-old kid right now, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I love, they're getting good exposure to it, but it can be a little busy. It can be a little busy. I feel like health and how you eat and how you approach all of that is a very personal journey. So I'm careful not to, like push on them what I believe. I'm a little bit more of like, like a quiet leader, and just do what I think is best, and the results will speak for themselves.
Yeah.
And, and the beautiful aromas will also catch their attention.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I tend to agree with you because it's such a better experience, I think, for your family, right? To be gentle with this and to know that, hey, this is my journey. I have my reasons for doing this, and it might not be yours. And like, that's okay. That, right? Like other people will come to that if they come to that. And I think by setting an example, it's like I think that people get curious. And so when you're an open example and not being judgmental, people are more prone to come to you with questions or to try because they don't feel like they're being like judged for how they're eating. And so they're more open to it. And so I think it's
I agree.
like 100% the way to go. And I think a good reminder because, and I understand, I get it. There's people who have switched to this way of eating, have had massive health transformations, and they're like, but I want all of the people I love to do this because it's so powerful. And I don't want, my husband or my wife or my kids to be eating this way because I know how bad it is or I know how unhealthy it is. And it's like, I totally get that. But there's a way to do it that's like a gentle invitation rather than like dragging them kicking and screaming into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you sound like an awesome mom. And so,
thank you.
And, and so it's a little bit more, I guess it's a little bit more work now than it was when you were eating meat and dairy, I would assume. But for you, because you have that really like internal why that's important to you, it's like the extra work is worth it.
Yeah.
It sounds like. And I think that that's important because I think a lot of people are looking for like the quick fix of like, okay, well, how do I make this easy for everyone? And that may or may not be possible, but it might be like you could find, the way that's the easiest as possible. And then you can feel okay about having it not be like, as easy as going through the drive-through because it's never going to be that easy.
Yeah. It's funny because when you said it's a little more work, for me, it's not, I don't look at it like work. I look at it like I get to and I enjoy it. So I actually get like disappointed when we have really busy weekends occasionally and I don't get to batch.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy cooking. I love, like, now I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing and I trust that the things I make are going to taste good. I'm very much like follow the instructions. I can't just throw a bunch of spices together and go, oh, this will be good. I'm more of a baker, I guess you could say, than a chef.
Right.
But it's amazing. Like, just, it's more of an I get to. I don't look at it like it's work.
Yeah.
It's really beneficial.
And that's very powerful for anybody listening who is in that like, oh, it's work or I have to, or like there's so many different ways to look at it. And I think for some people who really don't like cooking, that can be harder. I'm the same as you. I love cooking and there is a very deep joy that I get from getting in my kitchen, getting my hands dirty and like making plant-based food, like making food for, cooking beans and making bean burgers and turning, some cauliflower and onions and garlic and some cashews into a velvety soup. Like I get like some kind of high from doing that. And and knowing that not only is my body going to be fueled, I'm going to be feeling great. But I also am not going to wonder what's for lunch and what's for dinner because all of that is taken care of. And so I find total joy in doing it. And like you, when I don't do it, I'm like, oh, it's a little bit disappointing because, and there are days when I'm like, okay, I got to like push myself in the kitchen a little bit. But as soon as I'm in there, I'm like in my flow. I have my audiobook going or my podcast and it's like on. So yeah, if people can find the joy in it, it makes it a lot easier. And that little bit of extra time that you might spend is all of a sudden like a happy place and a happy thing and not like a drain, right?
Yeah.
Hey there, you beautiful human. If you are tired of stressing about what to eat, feeling stuck in a food rut, or spending hours searching for healthy plant-based recipes that actually taste amazing, listen up. At Clean Food Dirty Girl, we have got you covered with our meal plan club. Every week, you get a full plan packed with insanely delicious plant-based recipes. Think saucy bowls, hearty soups, vibrant salads, and of course, plenty of tacos, all made from whole plant foods. Not only that, but we give you a shopping list, a prep list, and step-by-step instructions so you know exactly what to do. No guesswork, no overwhelm. When you sign up, you'll have access to over 450 plans, and we add new ones all the time. So, whether you're new to plant based eating or you've been doing this for years, our meal plans will help you save time, save money, eat better, and feel amazing without having to figure it all out by yourself. So, if you're ready to upgrade your meals, head over to cleanfooddirtygirl.com, click on the top of the page where it says join, and choose Meal Plan Club. You can read all about it and sign up there. Okay, I hope to see you in the club. Your taste buds and your future self will thank you. Oh, and one more thing, perfection is not required.
So, okay, let's talk about your numbers then, because that was kind of the catalyst kind of for this change. Like your doctor's like, okay, you're around that age where we need to start talking about medication. And I think probably woman in their late 40s, early 50s hasn't had that talk, right? Who is eating kind of not whole food plant-based. And so I'm sure that's a very common thing for the doctor to say to a woman of your age. So when was that? How many months ago?
It was about a year ago. A little more.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so was the doctor on board with you trying to, did you tell your doctor that you were going to try to do this without medication?
Yeah, I did actually. She's like, we should start thinking about it. And I said, a long, long time ago as a vegan and I was exercising a ton. It was the one time in my adult life, my numbers were normal. And to the point where we were discussing it and we both questioned, was that a fluke? Like, was the test wrong?
Oh.
And so I said to her, I really want to try this again. I want to try eating. At the time, a year ago, I said vegan and I want to get my exercise up. I said, I kind of want to, if you will, run this experiment. And I was like, are you on board with this? And she was like, yeah, I'm definitely supportive of it. And so, so I did that. I started in about May of last year and I took the first test in October.
Okay.
And my numbers actually went up a little bit. You can see it in the Facebook in the picture that I shared. And they actually went up a little bit. And I was eating I was eating vegan, starting more so to do plant-based. Late summer, I found, all your information and joined the Clean Food Dirty Girl community. And so I started to eat better, but I wasn't exercising as well, consistently. And so I met with her and she's like, oh, we really got to do this, really got to think about medication. I went in for a different reason. And I was like, wait, there's one more thing I have to do that I haven't done yet. And I said, I've started eating a lot cleaner and I need to get my exercise up. And it was interesting. I had some family members who, politely and respectfully didn't think I'd be able to do it, because there's this belief that it's hereditary. I've got aunts and uncles and cousins and, everyone. It's like, well, we got the genes, there's nothing you can do about it. And, and so I was very nervous to take the test when I took it, but I took it with the mindset of, okay, I've done everything I can and I will accept the results, whatever they are.
And so this was after, so this was like you started in May, then you got a test in October. It was a little bit up, but you're like, nope, I'm not done yet. And so the next test was like 6 months later.
Yeah, it was just earlier this month.
Okay.
I think it was the very beginning of, well, maybe it was about 2 weeks ago, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, the beginning of May this month. So
you were prepared. Like holding your breath, like, oh, what's this test gonna show? Okay. And so what did it show?
So it was funny. I was pulling up my results here, but I was at a stop. I was running errands and I was like, well, I'm just going to check my portal to see if the results came in, and they came in and I started screaming joy, like, I freaking did it. Oh my God, I did it. It was like nobody was in the car with me. You know, people walking by were probably like, what is going on with this lady? But what they showed was that my test results for my overall cholesterol dropped from 236 to 190 for total. And some folks have asked me about my LDL because that's also a very important number. And that also dropped. It was at 139 and it dropped to 103. She ran a whole bunch of other, you know, tests in terms of like vitamins and minerals and all the other things in the profile. And what was interesting, everything was normal, everything, protein, everything was normal. But what was funny was my B12 was elevated.
Oh,
which I thought was, you know, you got to supplement for that. And I said to her, well, I can back off the supplement a little bit.
that's an easy fix.
Yeah. It's like, I guess I'm getting a little too much of that. But
so everything was in the normal range.
Everything. I mean, my family couldn't believe it and was very, very happy for me. You know, some of them had commented like, oh, now you got to keep it down. And I said, I earned that opportunity and I am so excited. I have the opportunity now to continue to manage it and keep it where it needs to be now that I know that I can, you know, affect the numbers.
It's possible. Yeah. So it's not your genes, right? It's not, you don't have this like sentence of high cholesterol and have to be on medication your whole life. Like you don't even, well, it's funny. I think it's Dr. Barnard who I've heard say this the most often, but I'm not sure who coined it, but he said that it's not your genes that are hereditary. It's your diet that's hereditary. And I thought that was really, you know, that's very, that's spot on. And so sure, your family may have, you know, you may have a history of high cholesterol in your family, but okay, that doesn't mean that you have to have it either. And I think so many people are used to hearing that and they don't question it. And they just are like, yep, that's what it is. And so I'll take the medication. And it's so inspiring to hear from people like you who are like, wait a minute, I'm going to test that first before. Because the thing is, if you did all of this and your cholesterol was still high, okay, you'd go on the medication, right? And so, you know, like we talked about in the beginning, like what did you have to lose? Have you lost any weight during this year?
Yeah, actually I have. I lost about 10 pounds. And I mean, you know, selfishly, I'd love to lose another 10, but that's probably a little too much. But you know, I don't know. It wasn't, the focus wasn't losing weight.
Yeah.
It was eating well and exercise, you know, for my heart and my bones, right? Like weightlifting for your bones, exercise for your heart. And, you know, it was just part of the overall like health picture. It's, you know, sleep, eating, exercise and stress management. That was the other thing, right? Which is where exercise and sleep helps. But also a lot of just like, you know, self-reflection in terms of like, what am I committing to and what am I making time for? What's most important? You know, what do I have to do versus what do I get to do? You know, all of that I feel like plays a big role in a lot of the numbers.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think that when you focus on all of those things, the weight kind of comes off by itself. Right. So when somebody's really, really focused on the weight, then they might try to adapt their behaviors to make the weight come down. But when you are adapting your behaviors based on like what is like health and, you know, getting good sleep and managing your stress, it's like the weight just kind of comes off as a result. And so, and I think it's interesting because your family said, okay, now you have to keep doing this. But I don't know about you, but it's like, for me, the way that I feel about this is like, it's my life and it's not anything at this point that I'm trying, that I have to try to do. It's just something that I do and I've been doing it for so long that it just feels like this is the default. And so anything else would feel very weird.
Yes, I agree. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I finally feel like I figured out who I am, if that makes sense. And I just feel so, you know, at home and happy, eating this way and making time for sleep and exercise, all of it. It's just, it all is right. And I know that, I'm fortunate. We're in a good phase right now. There's not a lot of like outside, crazy stress or terrible, situations happening, which, can throw things into a cycle or a tailspin. But I do feel like staying rooted here, and really starting with eating well and eating this way, I don't know, keeps me centered for the challenges that we do encounter.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really true. And I think that the more you do this, I think it's like when those challenges come up, it's like that taking care of yourself and nourishing yourself and making sure you get sleep and all that really supports you during the times when it is hard and when there is like acute stress going on, and when there are, those times in our lives that don't happen all the time, but when they do happen, it's like all of the things that you are doing now can really support you as you go through that. Because when we go through those times, we do get more stressed. We do tend to lose sleep. We do have a tendency to go for what's like most, more easily available and not necessarily as healthy. But if you keep doing what you're doing, which is possible, right? Then it helps you get through it in a way that's like really present and really healthy, so you don't miss it. Because all of those really stressful times, like there's so much to learn from those times, even if it's hard and sad or scary or whatever it is. And I think it's just such a beautiful gift to give ourselves that during those times. And I know that for some people it can be like, okay, well, there was a death in the family and I started eating like crap, and that can happen too, right? That can totally happen. And it's never too late to like, okay, I did that and now I'm getting back on track. Because we're human, we're all doing the best we can. And so with that, I mean, you're doing awesome. I'm really, really happy for you. And I wish I could have seen you when you got those numbers. I wish I could have seen your little like happy, happy dance in the car. So good. So good.
Yeah, it was, the windows were down. It was a beautiful day here. So I mean, I was screaming. Like, just, I freaking did it. Maybe there were other words, but I so overjoyed. And I honestly, that was a couple weeks ago, and I'm still so pumped about it. I'm still so motivated and excited. And like we said, even if the numbers didn't come back the way that I wanted, I wouldn't have stopped eating this way. I just would have added medication, so it wouldn't have been like, oh, I should stop and just eat what my family's eating. Like I wouldn't have.
Interesting.
Because I know that, from a health and longevity perspective, right? This is what's right for me.
So it feels good. It feels good. It feels centered. So I'm curious, have you seen your doctor since you got your results?
I haven't seen her. I just got a message through our, portal, and she was like, wow, great job. The numbers look amazing. She's like, we're good. And my response was, well, I must be, overdoing it on the B12. So I'll back off a little bit. But yeah, so I'm excited to see her in person, next time I go in for something, just to have a conversation about it. I'm curious if she's going to inquire a little bit more, because a lot of what I've learned on a number of the podcasts that I listen to is that there is no nutrition training in medical school. So, I'm, if you will, curious how curious she will be.
Yeah. It's I always wonder about that too. And I think like I've seen doctors who are curious, and I've seen doctors who like don't even want to hear about it. They're just like, I was helping my dad, like he went to see his urologist like a couple years ago, and his PSA numbers were a little bit high, and his urologist wanted him to at that point like go get a biopsy and do this and this, and my dad's like, I don't want to do that quite yet. So I got him to kind of tighten up what he was doing and adding in like more turmeric and tomatoes, I went on Dr. Greger's website and just kind of scoured.
Yeah.
And then the next checkup, his PSA numbers had gone down a little bit. And his doctor was like, oh, well, that's strange. I don't really see that often. But he didn't ask at all. But I told him, I was like, well, are you curious? Because I can share. And he wasn't, but I told him anyways. And the only thing he said is like, oh, well, you need to be careful of soy because it causes cancer. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. No. So there's some, it's like there's all kinds of doctors out there, but it sounds like your doctor is pretty open because she was like willing to support you in doing this. You can send her to cleanfooddirtygirl.com if she wants to know more.
I will.
And
I will.
It is true. It's amazing how little doctors know about nutrition because that's just the way the system is designed.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that you were able to like connect to different podcasts and just start learning about this. Cause I think it's really motivating, especially in the beginning, when you learn, when you understand like what might be possible and the science behind it. I think it's a good motivator to like incorporate that into your life.
Yeah. It gives you an anchoring point, I guess, to learn about the science and really find the outlets that you trust. Sometimes when I'm talking with my friends, I'm like, listen, you can find a study or an article that supports anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. Right. So my advice and what I found comfort in is figuring out what sources do I trust? Mm-hmm. And it's, again, a very individual or personal decision. When you find something that you trust and then, you continue to listen and do the research, read the articles, listen to the podcast, whatever it is, then you start to, get confident in what you're doing. And I feel like I've learned so much just learning about how to assess a research, article, and who's funding it and kind of going, deeper into how they approach the study. I'm by no means an expert. I don't work in the medical field or anything. I'm not used to, looking and studying research, but there is a little bit that you can learn that can take you a long way. And when you find those resources that you trust, whatever that means to you as an individual, then I feel like you can learn a lot and you can make some really good decisions for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, especially now, it's really important to have that critical thought because especially with social media and these influencers, it's so easy to get wrapped up in oh, wait a minute. So if we can have just a little bit of critical thought and just stop and be like, okay, well, where is this study coming from? Is it well designed? Is it reputable? Who is it funded by? Just those basic things. And I was just talking with Brenda Davis on the website for the podcast. And she has a good list of sort of what to look for when you're looking at studies and stuff. And this just reminded me that I need to email her to get that resource to put in our show notes for people. Because there are certain things to look for. And, those scientific studies are boring. They're just boring they're not interesting. So it does require a little bit to dot your I's and cross your T's and make sure that the information you're getting is actually, reliable and trustworthy. And you're right. I mean, I have my plant-based go-to people that I know that I trust, that I've, read so much about. And you do tend to okay, these are the people I'm going to stick with. And they're generally the people who aren't flashy, who aren't fancy, who don't have a lot to gain from it. It's the more flashy and fancy the person is, I'm I don't know about that. So good for you for thinking critically and for, going with what you trust. And I think the way that you did it is just beautiful. It's a beautiful example of what is possible. Your whole story is just a very beautiful example of that. So just huge high fives.
Thank you.
And I couldn't be happier for you. And I hope that you keep us posted when you see your doctor again, because I imagine, the thing is with this way of eating and living, it's for me, it never gets old. And I never, every time I get my labs done once a year, and every time they're great, it's perfect. My doctor's you're the easiest patient that I have. Yeah. Right. That's it. But the joy that I get from doing this, it doesn't go away. It just keeps, it doesn't wear off. It's I don't drink anymore. And so I never like miss a hangover. I'm always so happy to waking up without a hangover. It's the same thing with plants. I'm always so happy to be, eating my amaranth and oats and, all of my plants. It just never gets old. So I'm so happy that you found that spark and you are in that flow.
Yeah. Thank you. It's very empowering.
Yeah.
It's very empowering. So thank you so much.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you for talking with me, Heather. And I know that you're going to inspire lots of people and just keep doing an amazing job.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking with you.
Me too. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, this is Molly, and I hope that you enjoyed that episode. I love talking with Heather, and I hope that she is inspiring for you. If you know anybody in your life who you think would be inspired by her, please share that episode with them. We would love it. So there's just a couple of things that I want to just add on here, because after I got done recording that, I was like, oh, I can already hear some questions coming. So I wanted to just touch on those real quick. So the first question that I know that people are going to have after listening to this episode is, what kind of exercise did Heather do? Because that's something that I would be curious about. So I reached out to Heather and she let us know that in October, that's when she started walking. So she started walking her dog or walking with her daughter or just walking by herself. And then eventually she started adding in a little bit of running. And now she's doing some walking and some running. So that was the exercise that she kind of incorporated into her life in October. This doesn't have to be crazy, right? You don't have to go crazy with the exercise. It can be, a little walking and a little bit of running or jogging maybe. So that's really cool to know. The next thing is I wanted to touch on the little bump in cholesterol, the little like spike up that is in Heather's labs and that we talked about in the episode. So there is, I've heard this before when people switch to a whole food plant-based diet, that their LDL cholesterol increases slightly before it starts to really come down. And I've heard Dr. Greger talk about this. I've heard Dr. Furman talk about this. So a lot of the plant-based doctors have mentioned this. And there's reasons that this happens in the body. And it could be a combination of things, but for some reason. And so there's one idea of why this happens. And that is because when we lose weight, cholesterol is like excess cholesterol is stored in the cells. And when we lose weight, that excess cholesterol goes into the bloodstream. I don't know if that is factual, if that is the reason, but you can, look online and just Google it and you could get more information. You can go to Dr. Greger's website, Dr. Furman's website. There's many great plant-based doctors out there who know this stuff and know the physiological reasons for these things. But that is a common thing that I have heard of coming up in our group as well, and our community as well. It's like you switch to a whole food plant-based diet, your LDL goes up a little bit, and then you keep at it, and then it starts coming down, 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 down. And that's exactly what Heather's did. So I just wanted to touch on that and say that that isn't uncommon, and there's reasons for that. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention too is our meal plans that Heather and I are talking about. So that is our monthly membership. And so Heather is a Clean Food Dirty Girl Meal Plan Club member. And so we have three memberships really. We have the Meal Plan Club, we have the Recipe Club, and then we have Drop It Club. So the Meal Plan Club is when you sign up, you'll have access to all of our meal plans. And we have like almost 500 of them, I believe, close to 500, and we keep adding new ones. You also have access to all of our over 5,000 whole food plant-based recipes, the best recipes out there. And so the meal planning, specifically the meal planning part of our membership, is what Heather was talking about. So you go in, find a meal plan that you want to make, set your servings. We give you a grocery list. We tell you what items to batch cook and then how to put everything together. So that was the membership and the kind of thing that Heather joined to help her really eat this way and stay on track with it. And I'm going to put a link to that in the show notes so that you can check that out. The other club is our recipe club. So this does not include the meal plans. It just includes the recipes, but we're adding new recipes every single week, and you get all of our recipes in our big, huge, it's like a recipe vault. And you can search by ingredient and search by categories, lots of amazing stuff. And we just have the best whole food plant-based recipes out there. And then the Drop It Club is our plant-powered weight loss membership. And so that's open all the time. And that's an amazing, amazing program. I've done other episodes with people from Drop It who have gotten amazing results. So you can just, I can link to some of those in the show notes as well. So if you want to check out kind of our offerings and what we can do to really help you, if you're feeling like, hey, I feel like I really want to like go all into this or really, really try this in a way that's going to be as easy as possible, because this way of eating does, there is a learning curve to this if you're brand new, and we can definitely help shorten that learning curve. And we can also make sure that you're eating, delicious food so that you keep eating this way. It's really important to have yummy food, because if the food sucks, then eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day with food that just doesn't taste good, it's not super realistic. So I wanted to mention that as well. I'll put all those good links in the show notes, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I would love for you to share this podcast with somebody who might enjoy it. And also, if you can leave a review, that would be amazing. We appreciate it. Okay,